I'm Janice Banther, and today we're going to be talking about being a doula and how do you work on your schedule and scheduling your births and still having a life. Sometimes it's pretty hard to do, and when you're first starting off, you just want to be there for every single birth that there is. But how do you schedule births? How do you schedule your family time and your special days? And also, what about all the holidays that there are? And your kids' programs at school, or your programs at church, or the place where you worship, or the t-ball games and football. It goes on and on and on. When they're really little, believe it or not, it's actually easier to schedule your births than it is when they get older, because then you're dealing with their complete calendar. So how you schedule your births really depends upon where you are in your life. So it's changed many, many times in my lifetime. Usually you can schedule 4 births per month. Anything more than that, you're getting yourself and cutting it really, really close and to get to someone else's birth. And you kind of look at, okay, is it their first birth or second birth? Okay, if I got a second birth, it's more chance she might go early. It's a first birth, she could probably go a little bit late. And so you're trying to figure all that out and making sure you fit it in. At the same time, you could have one that goes over to the next month, and you could have somebody from the next month come early. So you've always got that in between. That's why it is so important. So important. And if you're working on your certification with whatever organization you're in, it talks about having that backup doula, having that backup plan. And we're thinking, but no, I am here. I am a doula and I cannot miss any births. I got to be at every single birth because I'm here to make sure I have a doula for every single person in the world. I used to be that way. Honestly, I was that way. And I think every new doula is that way. And a good friend of mine, her name is Annie Gower, she came up with a saying that she has said, and it's been probably 15 years ago since I've heard this, and I still use it when talking in my classes, in my trainings, or when I'm with talking just doula to doula, and that is, you can't breastfeed the whole world. So you can't be at every single birth in the world, because you can't breastfeed the whole world. And I think that kind of pretty much says it. You kind of put in your head, you're right, well, I can't. So how do you do it? Well, the best thing to do is just get a huge calendar. You can get calendars that are just, where you, I don't know if it shows up really well, where you can see, you won't be able to see a month at a time. Now, this is December. I'm flipping it over, and I believe here's January, and so you can see each month. And what you want to do for each month, and it really is best if you can get a calendar, a cheap one, that you can actually tear the pages out and look at the whole year at one time. And then make sure it all has a calendar that also has all the holidays on it. The, when Easter is, when Good Friday is, when Christmas is, when Hanukkah is, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all the holidays. Also, it kind of helps me if I have one that has the full moons on it. You always have to watch out for babies on those full moons. And then you can take your calendar after you've got it all spread out, then look at your family calendar and say, okay, when are we going on vacation this year? When do we plan on going away to visit my parents or your parents, or are we going somewhere? Make sure you got that scheduled in. Then also make sure you have scheduled in times, all the times marked off for any holidays that you're going to be celebrating. Now, before I say all this, I'm going to let you know, I have missed every single holiday there is, except Christmas, and more than once. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's Day, Valentine's Day. I'm sure there's more. There's the only one I have not missed is Christmas. As far as personal days, I've missed everybody's birthday. I've missed our anniversary. I've missed my nieces and nephews' birthdays. I've missed my mother's birthday. That's being a very bad person. I've missed everyone's birthdays. So I know what it's like when when the clock is going, you're looking at the clock and someone's labor thinking, I'm not going to make it home in time. But that clock, I'm not going to make it home in time. So you just have to realize there are some dates you're not going to be able to make. When the kids get older, there are sometimes you just can't miss those. So what you want to do is on that calendar, you want to be able to have on there, if they're in t-ball or if they're in football or cheerleading or jazz, tap, and ballet, whatever they're taking, all the dates marked off for that, all the games. And then you also want to make sure, looking at their school calendar, if they're in school, go online and look underneath your county, and it will have the whole school calendar and find out what days they're off, so that way you'll know, okay, if I do have births close to there, I got to work out on a plan, maybe a plan B for babysitting. Not just have a plan A, but a plan B, because if they go on this holiday of when school's out for a half day, or when the teachers have their in-service days, then I've got to have somebody available. Or spring break. Spring break is different for every county. And if you have kids in college, it's different for every school, not just for every state. So that plays a huge part in it too. Once you've got all those out, then you can look at your calendars and you can put it in one calendar where you can just, after you've spread it out in one huge long one, then you can go ahead and put it on one where you can keep it on your desk. Or we're becoming so much more computerized now. You can have it on your computer, or you can also have it on, I happen to have an iPad too. My son is very much into Apple, and so he makes sure that everybody in the family has apples, and he works around it. So it's on my iPad, it's also on my computer, and it's also on the small one I keep in my phone. So that way it all syncs into each other, and all the holidays, people's births, and I put at the very top, like if I have a birth for that month, the dates their due dates are. So that way I know when I'm looking at the calendar and someone says, well, can you do volunteer work at the school on so-and-so? So I look at the calendar for that day and I look up and see someone's due date. I think, okay, I can't do it. Or else I better have a really good backup. First time I missed a birth, I had a backup. First time I missed a birth, I was actually on our second honeymoon. And I remember I was standing at the balcony and I was looking out. I looked up, I looked at the full moon, I thought, I bet you she's in labor. And it was my third time around for this family to be with the third birth. And I really didn't want to miss it. And I was right. Right then she was in labor. When we got back, I found out that she had had her baby on that night. So you want to be able to schedule your calendar out so you will have backups when you're not going to be able to be there as births come up. Maybe it's a really close friend. You'll say, okay, I'll take you, but you got to realize I am going to be going out of town this date. Also, be kind to your family. It got to the place where one time when my kids were younger, my oldest one, I'd come out in the morning, I was dressed, getting ready for school and everything, and my business a little while back, because my pager went off, and I looked at it, answered it and everything, and had to go to the hospital, change clothes, put on my clothes I wear for the hospital, came out the door, and my son took one look at me, and he knew where I was going by seeing that, and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "No!" And that's when I realized you need to start scheduling it just a little bit better, because this is affecting your kids. And the most important thing you need to do is parent your children and be taking care of them than being at a birth of somebody else's child. Hard thing for me to get to in my head. It took me, I can't tell you how many years it took me to get that in my head. So hopefully you can learn by my mistake in doing that and putting a lot of times my family and my children second to births and constantly talking about on vacation. I wonder if I'm missing it. I wonder what's going on and what's happening. I told her she could call me. I don't know if we're out of cell phone range. And, to the point where I'm sure my husband, who was very nice about it, would have said, would you please just quit talking about this person having a baby? And my kids just kept getting, I think, louder and louder as their way of trying to drown out me talking about this person and worrying about their birth. So instead of driving yourself crazy about, am I going to make it or am I not? Make that full calendar out for the whole year. All the holidays for school, the basketball, baseball, football, whatever your kids are involved in, or your husband might be involved in, and have it all down in there. That way you know where you're supposed to be and when you have free dates. So when you get that first phone call, and you're talking to them, and then say, yes, this is Janice Banther. Yes, I'm a doula. Oh, I'd love to be able to help you. What's your full name? Okay, and your due date. And listen to that due date. Look on that calendar where you've got everything marked off, and you can tell her right away, right then, oh, I'm open. I'd love to be able to talk to you about being your doula. Or else you can look at your calendar and say, I am so sorry, but I'm already booked during that time. Either you're booked with a birth, or else you're booked by being with your family. And if you talk to your family, if it really becomes a place where in your family where the kids and your husband or your extended family is saying, like, listen, you really just can't miss this holiday. You've got to be here. I know this is important work for you, but you've got to be here for this holiday. Then try and reach a place where say, okay, how about if we miss this holidays, but I don't miss these holidays? And work with your family on it. Don't sacrifice your family for your work as a doula. Let it work together. The other one that I hear a lot of doulas say, hey, are you going to your conference this year? No, I've got a birth. Well, you knew when conference was going to be long before that person called for a birth, probably. It is important for you to go to your conference of whoever you're certified with, and you can also go to other conferences even if you're not certified with that organization. And I try and book out at least 2 conferences that I'm going to every year, because I learn during that, not only from just the speakers, but I network. And what I learn in networking is just as important. So sure, you put down on your calendar also when your conference is for who you're being certified with. That is so important. And start saving your money. I can't afford it. Oh, I can't afford the airfare. I can't afford the hotel room. I think in almost every organization they have a share a room rate where you can find people and share rooms with. You can work on your travel arrangements. I've heard of women having garage sales, doing different things, putting some money back from every single birth they do so they can make sure they got to their conference. Go to your conference. It's extremely important. You need to be refreshed. You need to get that feeling back that you had when you were very first a doula, of being excited. And you get that after you come back from conference. So I hope this helps you with your calendar, that helps you with your family, so your kids aren't freaking out when all of a sudden they see you in your birthing clothes, that you're going off to the hospital or for a home birth or a birthing center birth. And also that your vacations are a lot more simplified by not worrying about what's happening at home. You know, your backup doula's got it covered. And now you know when your conference is, and you've got it on your calendar, and you know you're going to go and see other doulas and get really charged up in the work that you do. Hope this has been a help to you. Please feel free to email me. The information's down below this video. I'd love to hear from you. Bye-bye.